A lot of you are gonna laugh at me when I say this because it is so Florida and so ridiculous, but it was actually kind of cool out in the mornings this week. It was like 67 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, which is like 19 degrees Celsius. That's the nicest weather we've had since like March. For the first time in months, you can walk outside and not feel like you're melting. Granted, it was only in the morning and it was still hot in the afternoon, but that's a start, right? So I am feeling very autumnal right now. I am thriving in this weather. I can't wait until it gets better than this. And to celebrate, I thought that we could maybe build something sort of autumnal in The Sims. This is just my favorite time of year, and for some reason, no other season gets me like this, but for some reason with fall specifically, this just is the best time of year. And for some reason, because no other season gets me acting like this, but for some reason, all I want to do in the fall is build like autumnal Sims houses. I've built like maybe 5 houses like this recently in The Sims, which is kind of embarrassing, but this one was the first one that I did. I just haven't posted it yet. And we're starting off strong with a bulldoze about 20 seconds into the video. So we're going really well here. Normally I would cut stuff like that out, but I felt like we should be truthful to ourselves. And I do often bulldoze things multiple times when I'm first getting started with them. We didn't get that far into this build this time, but I have been known to get much farther and then still bulldoze it. It just helps me to like lay out some ideas and then kind of realize, it's not working, I'm gonna start over. So I do that a lot. In this case, I knew that I wanted to build sort of like a Cape Cod styled house, and I knew I wanted to have a garage. That was like the main inspo behind this. So you can see we have a garage over there on the left side of the house. It's not really a garage door. It's actually just a sliding door from Snowy Escape, but we can kind of pretend that it's a garage door. And then I even did a little bit of terrain manipulation because I wanted to have the garage, but also still have a foundation. So I was trying to have a slight incline, like sloped up driveway to that garage door, so it still looked like a functional garage. Of course, there is no such thing as garages or functional garages in The Sims, but we have to just pretend. We're living out our dreams in this video, and so we're just pretending. I actually don't use terrain manipulation very often in my builds. I think that I find it kind of annoying to work with the terrain, so I tend to just not really bother with it most of the time. It's also kind of hard to do, so in this case, I was really dreading trying to make it work, and it took a lot of effort for me to fix it. I even just bulldozed the terrain just then because I figured I would come back and redo it. So I want to prepare you now that you are going to watch me do that terrain probably like 4 or 5 times in this video. I'm also going to redo the terrain paint multiple times because shockingly, the terrain paint glitched and deleted itself again. I don't understand how that bug still happens. And it only happens on lot reload, I've noticed. So like, for example, with this build, I started it one day, built half of it, finished the terrain paint, came back the next day, and when I opened my game again, the terrain had deleted itself. But there's only so much of this that I can handle. Like, it's starting to get to me. So I was very frustrated with that. I was also very frustrated with the color scheme of this house because this is way out of my comfort zone, okay? I love building these sort of autumnal fall houses, but this like orangey toned wood, I think has gotta be my least favorite wood color of all time. Not just in The Sims, but like also in real life. I don't like this like cherry tone of wood at all. And so I wanted to try and use it here because I know that I never use it, so I was really trying to make it work. I was also thinking about trying to use the Growing Together windows on this because I'm using Growing Together wallpaper for both the shingles and the paneling, but the Growing Together windows have white on the outside of them, and I felt like the white was really stark. It was a very stark contrast against the dark wood, and so it kind of just didn't work. So I ended up using the Seasons ones instead, but they are the wrong color. It's a little bit darker and like a little bit more brown toned. The wood that we're using pretty much everywhere else is very reddish, so we've got Growing Together stuff everywhere, and also a little bit of Snowy Escape because Snowy Escape has the same wood tones too, but Seasons does not. So we're just gonna have to deal with it. If you see those little columns that I put on the end pieces, we have the wider columns from Growing Together in the front, and then all the other corners have Snowy Escape columns plus the Snowy Escape door. I actually thought about using Snowy Escape windows on this, but I didn't like the shape of them as much. I thought the Seasons ones with the more craftsman vibe were a little bit better shape-wise, so I just kind of dealt with the color scheme. Plus, we're building this on a lot in Copperdale that has kind of bad lighting, so you can't tell that the color is as off as it is because the lighting kind of stinks on this lot, so it's fine. We're actually kind of building this sideways on this lot. The front of the lot is technically where the garage is, but I rotated it and built it this way so that we would see the front in better lighting in the video. But on the gallery, I had to rotate it back around. And then the other kind of weird thing about this is that there is no road. So I've put this driveway in because I wanted to have the fake driveway and the fake car, but there's not exactly a road or like any road nearby leading up to it. It's sort of like hidden in the forest, so it doesn't make that much sense to have the road. This is probably like one of the worst lots in the whole game to put a fake driveway on, but I really wanted to have a garage. I really wanted to have one, so I just committed to it anyway. Basically, every single lot in the game is like this though, where it's like not up against a road, so you just have to learn to accept it and pretend that it's not happening. Just close your eyes, ignore that there's no road up there, forget about the rest of the environment, and just focus on what we've got in front of us. And speaking of what we've got in front of us, you might see Eliza Pancakes just kind of hanging out in the background. I was using her as a test sim. I actually moved her here and had her sleep outside in an empty lot for like 5 days so I could get the fall trees to be a bit darker. Because when you set it to be fall in game, there are a little bit of leaves turning, but I wanted it to be way more red in the background, so I just played a few days so that it would be a little bit brighter and more autumnal when we loaded in. So I forced Eliza to sleep outside until the leaves started falling off of trees more. I was also using her to play test a little bit, and I'm gonna be honest, I was getting so mad at her because she would go inside and then she would say, "Ugh, the decor is horrible inside." And I thought that was really rude of her. It's honestly rich coming from Eliza Pancakes. Like, the audacity of her to say my house looks bad. Have you seen her house? It's not like the pancake house is anything special. In fact, I think it's ugly. Dare I say, it's bad. So she has no room to talk. She should keep her mouth shut. But anyway, this lot is a 20 by 20 lot, so it's actually quite small. And in hindsight, I probably should have built it on a bigger one. If I wanted to have the driveway and everything, I really was cutting it close with the lot size here. But I loved the environment around it so much with like the water and the little bridge and the trees in the back. So I wanted to do it here so badly that I kind of just accepted it and tried to sneak everything into the small space. You can see that basically the whole right side of the house has the terrain a little bit up higher. So that whole right side from what we're looking at right now where the garage is, that's all flat and level with where the garage height should be. So you can't see the foundation over there, but you can see it everywhere else. And I kind of raised it up in the back a little bit too, which made the landscaping kind of difficult because when you've got terrain manipulation happening, the landscaping always wants to be flat, but you might have the ground sloped. So if you put the flat landscaping on the sloped ground, it looks like it's floating a lot of the time. So this is one of those times again where I must ask you to please trust the process because it does come together in the end, but it took some time to get it to work out correctly. The backyard is very small and not very detailed. We've got just a few little things. I put some planter boxes over there. I also ended up putting a fire pit in the back. I thought about doing like a swing set and things like that, but it was floating. I couldn't get it to stop floating because it was so big. The fire pit did not float, so I used the fire pit. However, it is right underneath a tree, like dangerously close to the tree branches. This is a complete fire hazard and not something you should ever do in real life. I mean, the fire pit is a fire hazard no matter what in The Sims. These things catch fire nonstop, and the tree is not gonna affect that in game, but it looks really weird having a tree right over the fire pit. But I thought it was so pretty, so I kept it. I also hung up some pretty little fairy lights in there. I kind of like strung them into the tree from the building. Those are just toddler stuff fairy lights, and they looked so good right there. The back is honestly so cozy. I was really happy with this whole space. It is small, but it's mighty. It's got a lot of stuff for us to use. That's pretty much the whole exterior layout done though. We're just adding a few little decor pieces in, like for example, Patchy the Scarecrow. I really wanted to have Patchy, but he wasn't fitting a lot of spaces because of the terrain. It wasn't flat, so he was floating. I ended up putting him next to the garage door, and Patchy actually has gameplay attached to him. When you play with Patchy, he will like start helping you garden if you befriend him enough. Sounds really weird because he's just like a build mode item, but I swear it's true. You have to talk to him a lot though for it to work. And then I also put a truck in the front yard. So this looks kind of funky, okay? It looks a little bit funky because the terrain's kind of wacky and the wheels are floating a little bit. Just don't look too close at the wheels. It's not that bad. It's very slight, but it's something that I noticed because I was building it for so long, so I could tell it was doing that. It isn't a problem. I did think about trying to size down the truck instead just to see if that would help it a little bit more, but it looked really weird when it was smaller. It was like way too small. It was like a baby truck when I sized it down. In the bed of the truck, I put some hay bales and I put pumpkins like pretty much everywhere on this build. We're about to spend a lot of time trying to put pumpkins around. I started with the driveway and then I just went all out. There's pumpkins on like every single corner of the lot, and I was thrilled with how it looked inside of the truck. These are the pumpkins from Cottage Living for the most part. They're like the pumpkins that your Sims can harvest, so you can grow them with the Cottage Living little planters and stuff, and then you get these giant crops. I was putting those all over, mostly in just orange because I wanted to have the orange accents, but I also put a few of the spooky stuff pumpkins too, because they have jack-o'-lanterns from that pack. And I like that because they're a slightly different size, so it gives us some more variation in pumpkin, but also they can light up and they've got the little carvings in them. If you watched the other fall build that I did last week, and I kept talking about a different fall build I had made, this is the fall build that I kept yapping about. I was so proud of this one that I just kept going on and on and on about it. I say that because I used a few tactics from this build in that one, but I posted that one first. And here's kind of a fun idea that I had never done before that chat recommended. Those are little lanterns from Seasons, and I kind of lined them up on the staircase. So we've got some pretty lights going up the stairs, and I tested it. Your Sims can still walk up and down it, it's fine. I don't really think about those lanterns all that often, and it's got a bunch of different swatches. It basically could work for like a lot of the different seasonal color schemes. This one looks a little bit like candy corn, but there's also a jack-o'-lantern version. There's like Christmas versions. There's a ton of different colors on those. I also used that Seasons rug sized up on the front porch. It's a little bit dramatic, but maybe in a fun way. And I put like a little stump with a rocking chair. I put some more jack-o'-lanterns up there. One of the jack-o'-lanterns looks like it's like spitting out pumpkin seeds, and I put that on top of the rug, which honestly is gross. The pumpkin guts spilling out onto your rug, that's the wrong place to put that pumpkin, but I thought it looked so cute that I did it anyway. Luckily in The Sims, you don't have to clean these things up, so it's fine. Like, your rug's not gonna get ruined in The Sims 4 from the pumpkin juice. In real life, it would be an issue, but in The Sims, no problem. Same with the fire hazard, so just do whatever. It doesn't matter, it's fine. And then on this back porch, I put the pumpkin carving station back here. That pumpkin carving station is also from Spooky Stuff, obviously, and I really wish that it had more swatches. It only has 3. There's like gray, yellow, and another gray, kind of. And I wish that it came in solid white, solid black, maybe like a couple more of the wood swatches that match the base game wood tones. It's really odd that it only has a couple of color schemes, isn't it? And I guess that it's one of the earliest ever stuff packs, so they were kind of in their flop era back then, but I wish they would go back and add a couple more or something. I just finished a video that I'm gonna post on Tuesday where I built a house using only the Spooky Stuff pack, so it's really on my mind how bad that pack is, because I just tried to use it for a video and it was difficult. There's some weird stuff in that pack. We're now moving on to the inside though, to start thinking about the floor plan finally. And I will say this, I struggled a lot with the floor plan of this house. The upstairs is a really weird shape, as you can see. I managed to fit in 2 small bedrooms, and they both have an ensuite bathroom, which was kind of lucky. I don't normally try and give ensuite bathrooms to kids' bedrooms because I feel like it's kind of a waste of space. But in this case, because the garage goes out so far, there's space for a bathroom above it. I was finding it a little bit frustrating though, because I couldn't really find room for a bathroom downstairs. My initial plan was to have a little half bath next to where the staircase is by the front door, but then I was being really dramatic about not wanting to have 3 bathrooms in this tiny 2-bedroom house. Like, I did not want to have more bathrooms than I had bedrooms, which is so silly. Like, it makes no sense, but I was really worried about that. So I was going on and on trying to figure it out. The issue that I was complaining about was basically that I didn't want to have no downstairs bathroom. I love having like a guest bathroom basically that's downstairs, and I did not want to have the only bathrooms be through the bedrooms, because that's kind of annoying. You don't want your guests going through your bedroom to use the bathroom. And I could have made the primary bedrooms ensuite, the hall bathroom upstairs, but I also didn't want the kid to have an ensuite and not the primary bedroom, because that was weird. But the kid's room was too small to fit a double bed, so I was just going on and on, complaining. I ended up just dealing with it, and I ended up kind of making it a Jack and Jill situation, which I'll explain more upstairs when we get there, and I made the downstairs one into a laundry room. All because I didn't want to have 3 bathrooms. Just ridiculous. I was being so dramatic. If you watched me do this on live on my Twitch channel, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry you had to watch that. This was like 2 days in real time of me complaining about that, by the way. Like, I was being so silly. But the downstairs floor plan has kind of come together a little bit more now, so you can see we've got a small little front entryway. Next to it, I've got a really tiny office, like emphasis on tiny. Yes, this could have been a bathroom. It's not. I made it into a tiny office. We also have a dining room, there's a bar, and then I've got a pretty big living room in the middle, and there's a kitchen kind of tucked away in the corner. Plus, downstairs, we have the garage, obviously. I managed to make that into a really nice, like, utility space. There's, like, woodworking tables and things. The inspiration behind the garage was the artist studio kit, because it's got that really nice new wallpaper that it's kind of like wood paneling that I thought would look so good for a garage type space, so I wanted to use it in there. And then we're starting to actually furnish now. I've been putting, like, filler furniture in, but this is where the actual furnishing begins. options. I'm trying to do the kitchen first, and this is gonna kind of dictate the whole color scheme for the whole building. And I used the For Rent countertops. They've got that like horrible reddish toned wood that I keep complaining about, but then use everywhere in this whole build. And it's also got some really fun variations with like the paper towel hanging from it and the different plates visible. So I used those in here. We've got some pretty expensive appliances in here too. And then I used the For Rent tile that has kind of like that red, orange, and green color scheme. And that tile dictates the entire build. I love the tile. I love the colors. It's like so autumnal. So I tried to match everything else to that. There were some people in my Twitch chat that didn't love that tile very much. And I get it. It's very bold and it's very busy, but I've not really used it. I mean, I definitely used it when For Rent first came out, but I haven't used it in a long time. And I think that it really works for this space. It's so funny watching my own speed builds back because I watch myself spend like a ridiculous amount of time on the first room. Because the first room is really important. It kind of decides what the whole place is gonna look like because I'm trying to figure out my color scheme in this space, right? And then once I've got that figured out, everything else kind of comes together a bit better. But I spent so long on this kitchen trying to make it work. It's almost embarrassing to look back on. I apologize again to anybody who watched me build this live because I spent so long. This is not a good plug for my own Twitch streams, but I do stream The Sims pretty much every day on Twitch. I'll link my Twitch channel down below. My name is just lilsimsie on there. And I also post all of my streams on my second channel called More Simsie after I'm done being live. So I'll link that down below too, because you can always watch them back. If you can't catch it live, you can always watch the full thing back. There's like 6 hours of content of me building this house, which is maybe not good, but it exists if you want it. While I'm finishing up this kitchen though, this is maybe a good time for a little life update because I tend to use these speed builds almost a little podcasty. And I have 3 very important things to tell you. I am posting this a full week after recording it, so it's a little bit outdated now. But anyway, last night I went to the Simone Biles Gold Over America tour because they were in Orlando. My husband is like the #1 biggest gymnastics fan of all time. Like he is like the gymnastics stan. And the tour is basically just a whole bunch of really famous gymnasts, both Olympic gymnasts, but also like award-winning, competition-winning gymnasts from other competitions too. Most of them are American, but there's also a couple from other countries too, like Ellie Black from Canada is there. And it's an arena tour, so they come to these big arenas and they've got a huge floor set up, they've got like the bars set up, there's a beam, there's pommel horse, and they just perform for you in the arena. It's kind of a mix between a lot of dancing and a lot of gymnastics, and it was like to fun music. So to give you an example, they had this whole section where like all of the girls performed to Barbie music. So they had like somebody on beam, somebody on floor, somebody on bars, and it was like switching back and forth. And then after that, all of the boys performed to I'm Just Ken. So it was really fun. It was like funny, it was exciting, they were all doing all these really cool tricks, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was a really good time. I knew I would like it, but I didn't fully know what to expect from the tour until I got there because I hadn't seen a lot of videos of it or anything. And at the very end, they brought out, I swear to you, like 100 kids from like, I guess probably local gymnasts. But the last thing they did was bring out like 100 of these kids, have them go on the floor, and they all did a dance with Simone Biles, and I thought that was the cutest thing ever. Like that is gonna make those kids' lives because they look up to her so much, and they got to be on stage with her and like perform with her. That was so cool. So overall, I really enjoyed it. It was a really good show. That's life update #1. Life update #2 is that I'm going to see Sabrina Carpenter next week. So I haven't been to that yet, but I will be going to that. It's a big month for me. I don't usually go to that many like events, but I'll be at Sabrina Carpenter. My friend Sasha is coming, and you probably know Vixella because she's also a Sims YouTuber, but Sasha is like Sabrina Carpenter's #1 fan. I am also a big fan, but I'm not like her #1 fan like Sasha is. I've been a fan for a long time, but Sasha's a stan. So I'm looking forward to going to that. And then my third major life update is that I just mailed my mail-in ballot to vote for the election this year. This is perhaps the biggest update and just maybe a good reminder that if you're planning on voting by mail, now is a good time to do so. This election is extremely, extremely important. I cannot emphasize that enough. And not just for the presidential election, but like for example, in Florida, we're voting for a senator. We're also voting on a lot of really important amendments in Florida this year. For example, abortion is on our ballot this year. We've got a really strict, ridiculous 6-week abortion ban in Florida, but this year we get to vote to end that extreme ban. So if you are in Florida, I really encourage you to do some research and vote yes on Amendment 4. But even if you're not in Florida, no matter where you are in the country, voting is so, so, so important. So please, please, please go out and vote in November. sure we cannot have another Donald Trump presidency. I really just cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to go out and vote and make your voice heard. I'm gonna put some resources down below because it is not too late to register in a lot of states. And in some places, you still have time to get a mail-in ballot if you can't go in person. So please, I am begging you to vote. And now we can talk about the bill again. So we're working on decorating the little entryway right now. I also decorated the whole living room while I was talking about all that stuff. So we'll give you a proper tour at the end and kind of walk you through what it looks like. And the last major space downstairs is the dining room. And the dining room is what I struggled with the most. I think because I really wanted to use those like fall curtains and I just felt like they didn't really match. At this point, I had decorated the whole living space. I had this like really nice rug that matched the flooring perfect in the kitchen, and I just didn't know what kind of curtains to use. I ended up using some orange Dream Home Decorator curtains. I was really going through like every curtain in the game. I was looking at Seasons curtains. I mean, I tried everything because Seasons has some kind of autumnal curtains too. It's like beige with leaves on it, but there's not as many leaves, so it's not as cute. And then I used some cute growing together chairs. We've got an industrial loft kit brown fuzzy rug. I also put a bar kind of tucked away in the corner. And this bar, I ended up using the Realm of Magic bar, which I never use, but it's got like a really pretty back to it. I also put some pretty bird accents from Love Struck. I've got like some owls from Growing Together. I was finding all kinds of fun things for this build. And now we're decorating that tiny office. And honestly, office is a strong word because it's kind of like a nook, but it is a desk space and it's got a bookshelf. So at first in here, I was really trying to use the Storybook Nursery Kit wallpaper because it's got that really cool mural texture to it. And I also felt like this kind of purpley color kind of worked with the fall color scheme, but I'm sorry to say that I ended up changing it. I was also really trying to not use very many kits in this build. I've definitely used a couple. I think I used the greenhouse kit just so I could have one of the plants, but for the most part, I was kind of trying to not use kits because I know that I kind of tend to overdo it with kits sometimes. So I wasn't doing a limited pack build, but I was definitely doing a limited kit build in here. And once I found this reddish chair, it's actually a high school years chair and it's gold with this like red cushion. I've actually never used that either. I didn't even know that it had that swatch, and I think that that red works so well for our color scheme. So once I picked that, I was like, yeah, the wallpaper doesn't make any sense. I gotta change it. So we picked the chair and then kind of went from there, but it took me some time to figure it out. I definitely was very unsure about this room. This is another one of those trust the process times where I was like, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna make it work. It's gonna come together, but it just has not come together yet at all. There's also so many different wood tones in this build, and I find that so frustrating. It's just hard because nothing matches itself. And I think it's not usually as bad as this, but in this case, they're so strikingly different because they're all this like deeper color, kind of orangey toned color, but different versions of it, that it feels more obvious than usual. I've learned to just accept that though. Like, I've complained about it a lot over the years, but at this point, I kind of just let things not match correctly. It's also mostly fine, and in real life that happens. I think it's just hard in The Sims because you do have the ability to make it match sometimes, but not always. But anyway, speaking of hard things in The Sims, we've actually come back. This is day 2 now. I don't know if you saw when I zoomed out a little bit, but actually at this point, the terrain paint has now deleted itself. So it was there the whole time and now it is suddenly gone again. So we're gonna have to fix that later on in the video. We're finally just about done with this space now though. I ended up settling on like a dark purple with some shingles, and we get to move into the garage now, which I was so excited about. I did use a fair bit of the Artist Studio kit in here, which I know kind of goes against my no kits rule, but I think the new kit was sort of the inspiration behind this. So therefore it's okay if I use it because I wanted to have a garage just so I could have that wallpaper. I also put the woodworking table from that kit in here. We've got the sink from that kit in here. And then I put some bikes and some other little clutter. I think I did like the decor box from Seasons so you could decorate the house. I even put some plain little crates and little storage things in here. I totally could have done this as a space to put the laundry because a lot of people have laundry in their garage in real life, but at this point I had already decorated a laundry room, so I just left it. I also didn't want to fill it up too much in here because I wanted to leave it as sort of a flex space in case you wanted to delete anything and replace it with like a microscope or a cupcake machine or any of those weird items. That's why I like to have these garages, because it's nice to have space like that to put those big massive things that barely fit anywhere else in The Sims. I did end up putting some stains in here. I don't know if that was a good idea, but I put a bunch of stains. Like I've got I've got little stains on the floor. We've got a stained newspaper thing underneath the woodworking table. And then I also put the trash cans in here because there wasn't a lot of space for them outside because again, the terrain's all weird, so they wouldn't be flat, but they did fit in here fine. So I used those. And that's pretty much the last of the downstairs. We're going through and getting a few little extra touches like seasons decor with the kids stuff that they can make. But otherwise, the whole downstairs is done and we can finally move upstairs to start decorating the bedrooms up there. Starting with the primary bedroom. So this is where the double bed goes. They've got a balcony in here, thankfully, and they also have that ensuite bathroom that we talked about. I don't know if you can see, but the bathroom is an ensuite, but it also has a door into the hallway. That's what I meant by Jack and Jill bathroom earlier. Although I think a lot of the times with Jack and Jill bathrooms, it's like a bathroom that's completely in between two bedrooms. Just in this case, I really wanted to have a bathroom door that was accessible from the hallway because I hated the idea of like Nancy Landgrab coming over and then using the bathroom and going through my bedroom to get in there. That does happen in real life sometimes, but it's not ideal. It's never fun if you have to like walk through someone else's bedroom to get to their bathroom. So I was really trying to avoid it, hence why I was being so dramatic earlier. And this room, the primary bedroom, I like it, but my Twitch chat hated it. They were so mad about the wallpaper and the rug clashing. Not everybody, just a lot of them were like, this looks weird, I don't like it. And I can acknowledge that. I mean, they're kind of different styles and there is a lot of pattern happening in here, but I liked the color so much that I really wanted to try and do it. I liked the like deep reddish color. I didn't want to settle for just plain beige. It wasn't good enough. So I'm sorry if you hate it. I'm really sorry. Hopefully when we get some more decor in there, it'll make more sense, but I really wanted to make it work. I also found this kind of wacky giant full-length mirror from Growing Together that I have never used, so I put that in here. We got some little shelf decor and some fun accents in there too. Overall, I think it's a very cozy bedroom. It's kind of a lot, but hopefully in a cozy way. I started by putting the shelf on the right side of the door, and then I was like, no, that's weird. So I think I ended up swapping the mirror and the shelves, but we'll get there in the end. And I think on their balcony, I just put like a telescope and some seating. I tend to put telescopes pretty much everywhere in every single one of my builds because I really like having them. This sounds so bad, but I also like that it can kill your Sims. It's just sort of exciting to me, the possibility. I know that not everybody relates to that feeling, but that's how I feel. So I like to have the option there. Yeah, so here we go. Telescope, we've got a rocking chair and just some like simple, subtle little clutter out here. We are almost done with the build now. I'm just being a little bit indecisive about a couple little last minute things. And I actually put a yoga mat out there too. That's nice. So that's the end of the primary bedroom. And then the absolute last thing that we did was decorate the kids' room upstairs. And the kids' room is a little bit small and a little bit funky shaped. I was trying to find an excuse to use that floral curtain that I couldn't fit downstairs. Well, I guess it's not floral. It's like a leaf curtain. And I also put a red wallpaper in here. And I don't know if I've ever done that before. I've never made a red themed kids' room. So it was kind of fun to try. I also had this like brown bed. I don't know if that's good either. I was so unsure of how I wanted to do this. I think the obvious choice would be to put the bed in the window nook, but I was kind of trying to avoid doing that just to have like a more interesting layout. I also used a lot of kids' room furniture in here because it kind of had that like yellowy orangey wood. We've got more of like a reddish wood everywhere else, but this is a bit more yellowy orange. I put some toys, there's a desk in the corner. We even have like a little art table. I wanted to have that because they can make a bunch of seasonal decor. So I felt like in a house that is so seasonal, having the kids' craft table works really well. It is really tight in here, but I did test it. Eliza can walk through the whole place, but it looks very, very small. I can acknowledge that. I mean, that's the beauty of a weird house like this. I think I like building small houses in The Sims though. That's my favorite thing to do is make these kind of small, funky houses. I like it when they're weird like this. It is kind of strange trying to figure out layouts of them though. But for the most part, I think that's everything. I think we finished the whole build. Just doing a couple little last minute details here. And now what I want to do is pop back into the game and give you a tour of the fully finished product. So if you're looking for this, I built this one in Copperdale, which is the world that comes with high school years. And I built it over here on this little corner. It's usually an empty lot, but I built this here to replace it. Oh no, we gotta get a sim here. We can't do it for Managed Worlds. We need the fall vibes in the background. When you build from Managed Worlds, it's like seasonless. It's actually summertime, but it looks like Sims 4 default. When you have a sim living there, you can see the seasonal effects, and that's what I want. Oh, boo. It's summer again. Fall. There we go. Okay, this is what the house looks like when it's finished. I love the colors. I love the pumpkins. I had so much fun with this. I'll show you kind of around the side first because you can see the terrain manipulation a little bit more. It is quite a steep driveway, but it goes up here and the wheels are only like slightly floating. See, it's very slight. Don't look at that too close. In the back of the truck, I put pumpkins and hay bales and like some storage. This is where Patchy lives. And then kind of all the way around the very back, we've got that dangerous fire pit. We've got some more pumpkins. We've got some planter boxes and a swing set off to the side. This is like totally on the edge of the lot, but it's still functional like that. So I was just trying to fit as much as I could. Realistically, with this place angled the way that it is, you are swinging straight into that rock, which is probably dangerous, but it's okay. Look at the view. I mean, seriously, it's so nice. It's so nice. That's kind of a top-down view of the outside. And then you walk up our beautifully lined staircase to the front porch where we've got some pretty pumpkins. We've got a little rocking chair and also an easel. And then you come into the front door and this is a little front entryway space. To the left, we have the laundry room. I actually used Jungle Adventure tile in here. I thought that the orange and yellow worked really well, but it's mostly just laundry decor. I loved this shelf with the owls. I thought that was so cute. Over to the right, we've got a small table and like some umbrellas. And then in here, we have that tiny office space that we had talked about. I even put some leaves up and like some cork boards with some postcards. Your Sims can make these. The kids can make those little leaves. Oh, boo. I can't move it in live mode back. Anyway, back out here, we have kind of like one big open kitchen, living, and dining space. The dining room is over here. We've got some open frames for your Sims to put photos up in. We've got a cornucopia. There's some little candles and leaves. We've got this cute little bench in front of the window, plus the bar and some more storage over here. I really like this. Oh, no. Oh, no. Ignore that. Ignore that, okay? You didn't see that. It's like that on the gallery because I didn't notice. That's so embarrassing. Anyway, these are from Lovestruck and it used to be bugged and they didn't show up in build mode very easily. So I never used them, but now they fixed the tagging so they show up right. So I put those over there. My favorite part, I think, is the living room because I love how this all looks. There's not a TV, but I love like this little corner with the plates. We've got a cornucopia. There's some board games. You can access the back door from here. You can also get upstairs and into the garage from here. This is the garage real quick. Lots of just storage, basically bike storage, trash cans, woodworking stuff. And then last we have the kitchen downstairs. This was kind of the defining factor of the whole build. I put some little fall things on the wall. I don't know about the shingles as a backsplash. It might not be very practical, but I thought it looked cool, so I tried it in there. And then if we go upstairs, there's a very teeny tiny little hallway right here. I put this kind of fun fall picture, and then we have the primary bedroom that we just talked about. They have that little balcony that we had shown, and then over here we have that kids room, and they have an ensuite bathroom for the kids room. Kind of a big bathroom too. The primary bedroom also has an ensuite. There's a door right here, and then there's a door in the hallway too. I made all the bathrooms a different style, different tile and stuff going on in them. So it is a 2-bathroom house. We've got laundry downstairs. I only have the one hamper and I kept it downstairs in the laundry room. I always do that because I find it a little bit more functional to have the hamper right next to the washer and dryer for gameplay, because your Sims get so annoying about bringing laundry up and downstairs. They just try and like drop it on the floor sometimes. So I try to keep the hampers next to the laundry. But that, I think, is everything. That is the fully finished build. I have yapped so much today, so I think on that note, I'll end it right here. Thank you for watching. Please vote, not just for the presidency, but also for all of your local elections. I am proudly voting for Kamala Harris, and I think that you should too. And I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. I even dressed up for this video. I thought my shirt was kind of autumnal. I felt like it was kind of fitting the vibes.